Everyone, I'm Charlotte and welcome back to Unstripped, a dive into creating and learning. A 10-day series where we look into how I got into digital art and how a journey is always a journey and how it's not really easy, and that's okay. So, as you can see on screen, and as I mentioned in the last video, I did not get into digital art first. I was more keen on writing and writing blogs, and so I wanted digital art to be something that supplemented written medium and something that supplemented visual storytelling. But in the previous video, I tried to do picture blogs, but it was too time consuming. And so I shifted to creating these abstract pieces where you could use patterns and where in the center, where the big spaces, I'd add the text. This was also because before I got into digital art, I would create presentations and things like that. And so I was into graphic design as well. So instead of using the elements from the graphic design app, I preferred making my own elements so that it would feel a little bit more original. And so this is actually one of my favorite ones because even though the writing wasn't that great, I think the pattern was a bit more original and the pastels were pleasing. Something about the the set of creating the backgrounds for the written work was a fun idea that didn't last long. And I remember these blogs are actually there on Twitter. I'm not sure if it's under Charlotte underscore Purkwa, and I know it's not Twitter now, it's X. So perhaps it's there. Maybe you could check it out. But very cringe writing, but it's all right because, again, you learn from all of your clumsiness, your awkwardness, and very unoriginal content. But at least the background was a bit more original than the writing itself, right? And, oh, right. Another thing that I wanted to mention is I was also getting into vector design. And so I wanted to implement the concept of vector design into digital art to create backgrounds like how I did for vector design. And this was born as a result of that. And I'd add like a quote, like as you can see on screen, challenges are simply a checkpoint to determine the strength of the course taken. Something like that. So, for it to be a bit more pictorial. So, moving forward, the reason I put the current piece on screen is to show that visual storytelling can happen without the use of words. And I think that's one of the key takeaways that I learned through the course of my digital art journey. And creating is a journey through trial and error. And before I came to the medium of digital art, I had to experiment so much. Design, writing, vector design, this, that. But all of that helped me to understand what I liked, what I didn't like, what was worth sticking around for, and what wasn't. And it did cause clumsiness. It was extremely chaotic pieces, but I learned from it. And I continue to learn because I take up different mediums. Now, recently, I shifted to traditional art and canvas painting and different mediums of canvas painting as well, using different paints, I mean. So, in that sense, it's all a process of learning, and all of it is not that great. All of it is not amazing. But because I have similar skill sets now, it's not that bad either. And I've learned to accept clumsiness as part of the journey. But as you saw in the previous pieces, quite strongly, I can assure you that being clumsy, being bad is part of the process. And experimenting is really needed in order for you to understand which part of the creative medium would suit you better. You never know if something else would suit you better if you just stick to one thing because you're good at it or because you're accustomed to it for a really long time. And my key takeaway from for this video would be to go and try a new medium. Try to see if there's another medium that would bring you so much of joy of creating in itself. And understand if that works for you, because as you saw, even though I started with writing and graphic design and then digital art and a lot more things too. I did animation, 3D modeling, a bunch of things that I wasn't good at. But at the end of the day, digital art worked out for me. But even then, it didn't really work out in the initial phase, but rather it took years to get to where I am now. And this piece is a few months old, like maybe 3 months old. And the pieces that you saw earlier were from 2.5 years ago. So it really just requires sticking to a medium and practicing it enough and to see which brings you the most joy. So don't be afraid to try new things. Create for the joy of creating. Create to learn what works best for you, because what works for others might not work for you. Very generic advice, truly, because a lot of creators say this, but it's true because they know what works for them, and that brings a sense of style, and that brings a unique perspective, that brings originality. So that's all I have for today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, you can follow me at Charlotte underscore Pourquoi. Bye.